that? Booty shaking on the west, who that?
What's up, people? Welcome back to another episode of The Ring Report. Myself, Mekz, the WrestleManiac, joined by my guy, Del Tevic. And again, we have a lot to talk about. This past week in wrestling has been something. We've had people lobbying for new jobs, new positions. We've had people making moves to new companies as well. And we have had one of the most graphic blood and guts matches for some time now. And we're going to talk about all of that on today's episode. But firstly, like I said, I'm with Del. Del, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, bro. I'm doing good. A bit ups and downs in terms of the wrestling side of things this week. Like you said, there's been a lot of people lobbying for some sort of change in their roles. The Bloods and Guts matches were just insane, so I think we've got to talk about them. A certain someone seems to have signed with WWE, which angered me. But we'll get all into that, man. So yeah, let's get into it, bro.
Yeah, that's exactly it, man. A lot to chat about. Firstly, you guys know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well. If you're listening on your podcast platform of choice, leave a review as well. And Del, I guess take us away with the first story for today.
A certain Mr. Jericho, even though he's technically still signed to AEW, looks like he is lobbying for that move to WWE. Sent a lot of praise in the direction of TNA. And obviously, it's no secret that they are partnered up very closely with WWE at the moment. Claimed that TNA is the second biggest wrestling company in the world, sort of ignoring the fact of who his current employers are and the work in which they've put in over the past few years. So yeah, Mekz, what's your thoughts from that, man? Because I know you have a lot to say on this one.
It was a very kind of cheeky. Do I say it's a cheeky comment that he made, right? Like ultimately, he's having a conversation. So for extra context, he's having a conversation with the Dudley Boys and the Hardy Boys following the match they had Bound for Glory, and he's putting them over. He's putting over TNA and stuff like that. And then he goes and says, "Oh well, when AEW were in that building, it looked like basically some rinky-dink indie from Canada." Like, and it's like you could have praised TNA and the business TNA done on that night and how great the arena looked without even mentioning AEW. You know, you could have done that easily. So for you to kind of go out of your way to say that when, you know, Dynamite was in that building, it looked like, I can't remember the promoter's name that he quoted, but basically it's a Canadian indie. He basically compared Dynamite to some Canadian indie. And it's like, tell me you're done with AEW without telling me you're done. Like, tell me you want to move without telling me you want to move. And obviously, because of the people he's speaking to in the Dudleys and the Hardys, these guys are all strongly affiliated with WWE. So it's like, if you're speaking to basically WWE ambassadors saying, oh, that the second company in the world is TNA, they look like the second biggest company in the world, which is like, no one in that conversation believes what's being said right now by Jericho. But because they're all kind of elder statesmen, because they're probably all carnies as well, they're like, the TNA looked great. And, you know, we were the draws. They were all saying that they were the draws of Bound for Glory, that no one would have came to Bound for Glory if it wasn't for Hardys versus the Dudleys and, you know, all this kind of self-indulgent stuff. But Jericho kind of throwing AEW under the bus in that conversation was particularly like alarming sort of thing. Like, yep, this guy's still getting paid by them, mind you. He hasn't left yet. It's crazy.
Oh, bro, you know I'm not a fan of these circulating rumors of Jericho coming back to WWE, and I think this sort of cemented it for me. It's like when things aren't going his way, when he's not being portrayed in the positive manner in which he always wants to be portrayed, it's almost like his toys start getting thrown out the pram. Like, it's no secret he's thrown shade in WWE's direction when he was signed with AEW as well. Yeah. So I think, like, if you are someone who is going to disregard and discredit the work in which these men and women do on a week-to-week basis, I don't think that's someone who will be adding enough to the product to be back in WWE. Like, we've spoken a lot recently about how there's a lot of young men and women who really deserve their spot. Whether it's the Last Time Is Now tournament or various other spots that have opened up on the roster. I don't think adding Jericho now would benefit them in any positive type of way. I look at what CM Punk has done since returning to WWE. He's someone who a lot of the people backstage speak very highly of. They say he's helping them develop within their characters with in ring. Do I think that Chris Jericho is going to be able to do that if he was to return to WWE? Maybe to an extent, but I don't think it would have the same effect. I'm at the point with him now where it's just like, if we want to talk about indie wrestling shows, I think Jericho is going to be wrestling only on indie wrestling shows within the next few months. Because if I'm AEW, that contract is getting let to run out, and I think he's essentially the thing that he's actually doing is burning bridges here. And I think that's the sad thing. It's just like he was one of the main focal points in the preliminary stages of AEW. And now he's essentially trying to bury them with his words. And I think that's the sad thing here. It's just like, you've worked hard to help build this company up, but now where are we?
Which makes me think you're 100% right, but it makes me think something has happened. Something that we don't know about, something we're maybe not privy to, maybe we'll never be privy to, maybe we'll learn later on. Maybe we'll learn it the minute he leaves AEW. Because he's seemingly someone that has always had the ear of Tony Khan. You know, kind of. I don't want to say this disrespectfully, but kind of had Tony Khan in his back pocket. Like, he can kind of do anything, book his own creative. How many factions has he had? Like, Jericho should have really been pulled from TV a while ago, just because of how fans weren't happy with him, and just kind of putting himself over and putting himself in the best positions. And it's like, finally, as of this year, April 2025. He's like, they haven't used him since then. He dropped the Ring of Honor World title to Bandido, and he has not been seen on TV, had a match since then, April this year. So it's almost like, either maybe that's the issue, you know, you're not been booking me. Tony doesn't want to book him. Tony wants to move away from him. Tony ultimately used him to legitimize his company. You know, let me bring in this former WWE guy, WCW guy, New Japan main eventer to come in, be the first world champion, legitimize the company, get eyes on the company, and 6 years later, 5-6 years later, I don't need him anymore. You know, the product's moved on. We're the best wrestler now. Does he live up to that moniker? Maybe not. Let's let him go, sort of thing. We don't need to use him. Tony has been in press conferences saying like, oh yeah, when Jericho's ready, he can come back. We'd love to have Jericho back. But ultimately, bro, you're the one with the pen. Book him, innit? Like, if you want him back, book him. And if you're not doing that, then I'm guessing at some point earlier this year, Jericho has made his intentions clear that he won't be signing a new contract beyond December. Which, for me, yeah, I mean, you say that he'll be wrestling indies. Jericho ain't wrestling no indies. He might go New Japan. He might even go TNA. But Royal Rumble in January, 31st of Jan, he is coming out in Saudi Arabia. Like, he is 100% coming out in Saudi Arabia. And I think this last kind of snide comment confirmed he's done. And yeah, if he hasn't spoken with WWE, I think he's spoken in the past about him having some heat with Triple H. Like, there is something between, I think there's always been something between them anyway, but he's spoken in the not too distant past about like whatever the situation was, or there is some current heat between them. But it's a no-brainer. You get Jericho back in, it's like, even if it's like a 2-3 year deal, get him to the Hall of Fame, done. Turn him into some ambassador for WWE. Like, I think that's what we're looking at this point.
Yeah, do you know what? If it wasn't in Saudi, I think a lot more, there would be a lot more sort of question marks being raised around it. Just because I think of the level of event they're going to be hosting there, I think it does make perfect sense for him to come out the Royal Rumble. I think we're now in a time where we look at what Jericho has done in AEW, and don't get me wrong, like some of the factions, some of the storylines that he provided over there was unbelievable. The stuff with MJF, I loved. The meme, a little bit of the bubbly. Like, I don't think anyone's going to forget that from his time in AEW. But if you're trying this hard to sever ties with your current employers, if I'm Triple H, you've already got heat. Do I really want to be aligning myself alongside with you for a period of time, like 2 to 3 years? Because I don't think it's going to be providing anything that's going to be of a level that fans are going to really warm towards. Like, there is some great wrestlers in WWE now. I know they say AEW is where the best wrestle, but WWE are sort of spoiled with so many, not just great gimmicks, but great wrestlers. And a lot of people have worked their way up the card. And do I want to see Jericho return to WWE and go on the title run? No way. He doesn't need a title around his waist. If he really means like that he wants to go back to WWE and sort of mend his broken relationships with people like Triple H, I think a great way is to have him go there and to put over the younger talent. But I'm not necessarily of the belief that he'll be able to do that. He's not in the physical shape he once was. He can't be doing the matches that he once did. So I think if I'm going to be looking at what sort of relationship they can have here, you never know. It might just be a short-term deal for the Royal Rumble, and they see where they can go from there. I think that would make more sense. Just because, like I said, I don't think he, like you said, last time he wrestled was April. We're in the middle of November. That is a long time. And by the time Royal Rumble comes around, is he going to be able to have had those reps to be able to produce anything of substance? I don't know.
I mean, the Royal Rumble, he can hide.
Yeah.
He can hide. You know, his music, the countdown thing goes off, his music hits, big ovation, big celebration. He comes down to the ring, does some action for like the first 3-4 minutes, taking guys out, maybe throwing some over. And then when the next guy comes in, he can hide in a corner like for the next 20 minutes. See, like, that's the nature of the Rumble, isn't it? He can, you don't have to be fully active and doing stuff. Like you, I don't believe he should come back to WWE and start winning titles and stuff like that. Even if it's the mid card belts, I don't think he should win any of them. But they may want to cement him as the greatest intercontinental champion of all time. He won't beat Gunther's 600-day record, 666-day record, but I believe he has the most reigns with the IC belt. If it's not him, it's the Miz. That's got the most reign to the IC title. So they might give him another reign, maybe to beat Miz's reign and make him, like I say, the greatest intercontinental champion ever, or the most reigns anyway in WWE. At most, that is what he should get. And that's if he is hot enough. Let's not even do that just for the sake of doing it. Like, if he deserves it, sort of thing, let's do it. I don't mind. But the world title, I can't with the queue to the world title right now. And I always refer to it as a queue because if you look at Cody's got Drew waiting in that queue, possibly a Jacob Fatu, and these are guys that are to have lengthy runs. You know, real. In Drew's case, especially people that could be like face of the company, even from a heel perspective. On the other side of things, Punk, they probably be willing to put Jey Uso, give him another title run. LA Knight, with the whole world is clamoring for him to have a title run. There's cues. Seth Rollins will come back eventually and probably want his title back. Braun Breaker, there's absolute names. So Chris Jericho shouldn't join any of these two queues to become a world champion. IC belt at best if they're going to go down that route. But even then, they don't need to go down that route. They can just tell very good stories with him. And I think for me, I hope these guys that are coming back are going to retire. We've talked about John Cena's retirement tour. AJ that's coming up. Punk that probably will come up. Jericho that if he returns. I hope this is part of them, in Jericho's case, him coming back. I'm giving you guys my retirement. Let's do something special. Let's do something massive. Jericho even has the ties to Mexico and stuff. He can go to AAA. He can do some stuff in Mexico as well to help them with that brand. Yeah, I really do think that this should be another opportunity for WWE to book a really good retirement tour for one of their legends without any titles and without kind of getting it wrong.
I agree with that. I think there is an opportunity there to sort of cement what he did in the company. But am I going to sit here and say that I think he's the greatest IC champion of all time? I don't even think I would agree with that. I think it goes to the Miz, honestly. And I think just for the state in which Miz picked up the title and the division in which he was in and he
when,
had
2016.
Yeah, like I
Okay.
think it was in such a bad place, and I think the way Miz took that title, no one will ever forget the standoff that him and Daniel Bryan had. Like I think that for me is one of the like. A lot of people said it was fake. A lot of people said it was real. He looked seething, and I think that from that moment, do you know what I said to myself? I was just like, this is a guy that came into the company and people were booing him out the door, and he's turned it around, and in my eyes, become the greatest IC champion of all time. And from that moment, I said to myself, it isn't Chris Jericho. Like Gunther has the greatest reign. Obviously, it's 666 days, like you stated. But if we're talking about the greatest IC champion in history, mine has to be the Miz. And I think there is a story to be had there. Regardless, because it's going to split. It's going to split fans. It's going to split the younger fans with the older fans. And I think that's something exciting to do, where it may not necessarily even need to have the title involved. It's which one of us is greater. They could have a short rivalry, and I think there's a great story to tell there. So, yeah, I don't. It just annoys me of Jericho, man. It's just like if this was 2 years ago, I would have potentially been excited, but it's just like it's 2 years too late, and I don't really think there's much in which he can bring to the table that couldn't be delivered from someone else.
Yeah. Pick up, bro. Productions by Charlie. He says, yeah, Miz is a shout, to be honest. He did carry the IC title, but also when Cody was IC champion before he left. Like, I agree. That particular Miz run you're talking about, I agree, was excellent. I think that period is the most I have ever enjoyed the Miz, right? But that is one title reign amongst 8 or 9 that the Miz has had. So for me, like I can't agree he's the greatest just off the back of one, if you see what I mean. Jericho has had, again, maybe about 8 or 9, which again the booking may have been up and down. I can't recollect all of them right now, but I just feel like Jericho is more iconic with the IC title, if that makes sense. Whereas I would probably answer that even in his 1 reign, 2 reign, because of the 666 days, Gunther is the greatest IC champion of all time. Now, older fans might obviously come back with, when Triple H had it, and, even before that, Brett's and all of these other people and stuff like that. But for me, from what I've seen, what I can remember, Gunther is the best. Miz had that iconic run in 2016 with it, but that's, like I say, it's 1 of 9 reigns or something, which is like a very poor ratio, but a great run that he had. So yeah, it's neither here or there. Ultimately, we've gone down a rabbit hole. We don't want Jericho to touch a title anyway. But but like it's you just have to, if this is what it's gonna be, this, that's it, sort of thing. But I'm open to the idea of him returning. I think it's obvious he's coming back at this point. He's lobbying for it, he's positioning for it, he's even here praising WWE's partners in TNA to kind of show that he's on board. So yeah, we'll see how this one unfolds. I think his contract is up in December. And like I said, 31st of Jan is the Royal Rumble, so we'll see.
No, it's like you said, man. We could go over it for a much longer period of time, but we've both already stated that we're not really interested in Jericho having another title run. But regarding people leaving their current company and joining WWE, we said his name so many times on this podcast. He has managed to appear with a WWE deal. Joe Hendry seems to have signed with WWE officially. It's no secret that I'm not his biggest fan. A lot of people in my group chat will have a lot to say about that. I'm not his biggest fan, but he seems to have got himself that WWE deal now. I was anticipating that he would have been the person that faced that was in the last SummerSlam tournament this week on SmackDown. But we'll get into that a bit later. But yeah, Mekz, Joe Hendry is officially with WWE. It looks like. What are your thoughts, proper?
Like, despite what yourself or myself may think of Joe Hendry, because I'm not his biggest fan, but like he's all right. I get the hype, you know. Like, well done to him, innit? Like, well done to him. This is someone that, you know, I've watched from maybe like mid 2010s, 2015, 2016 on the British Indies and stuff like that, you know, in every gimmick under the sun. Like, God loves a trier, and this man has truly tried, like, to get to this point, sort of thing. He's done WWE like extra work and stuff, and WWE have been in the UK. He's made it to quote unquote TV through TNA and stuff like that, and he's eventually landed on this gimmick where he turns around and people lose their mind. Like, it's absolutely crazy, and you know, he's worked hard for it. He's worked hard. I don't think he's like a dazzling wrestler. He is, you know, by the numbers, very straightforward in what he does, nothing exciting, but it's the gimmick, it's the story, it's everything that people want to believe in, you know. I always say, like, you have to sell the story, like the match at the end of the tunnel, because we've seen this in WWE and WrestleManias time and time again. The match can be a 3-star on the night, but it's how you get us there as fans, you know. And yeah, he's worked extremely hard, and he deserves this 100%. He deserves this. Do I care for it? No. I do not care for Joe Hendry signing for the WWE. Like, I feel like he's done some decent stuff in NXT as a talent. I can't imagine. I think we have on what we're going to talk about today, some where we think, you know, he can go from here. What can they do with him? I truly don't know, because even in the height of the virality of him turning around and all of the memes and stuff, I don't even know like where we are with that today in terms of numbers. Is that still like a massive thing, or is it dying down? Like, we are over the hill with that and it's dying down, but maybe with WWE now it's only gonna amplify because he's got this machine behind him, you know. So I don't know where he fits. I don't want any of my favorites or people I'm optimistic about to become victim and lose their place because Joe Hendry has signed to the company. That would be even worse to me. But yeah, he's here. He deserves to be here. Like I said, he's definitely worked for it. He's definitely earned it. But I just don't care.
I think I don't care is probably the best way to put it. Like, I think that's probably the realest way in which you could have said it, Mekz. I'm not his biggest fan of this. That is no secret anymore. Like, I think I've said it time and time again. I just don't get it. But it's like you said, he has gone through gimmick after gimmick and change after change, and he seems to have found his place. But it's whether he wants to be taken seriously as a wrestler or whether he's going to be joining WWE as sort of this comedic gimmick. We've spoken about how someone like Mr. Iguana, who that gimmick on the AAA shows has been great, but he's not very good in ring, and it's cost him a lot. And I think, do I want Joe Hendry in a spot like that rather than the main roster run? Yeah, but I think with the sort of traction in which he's gained on social media over time, I don't think he's going to be ending up anywhere but the main roster. But do I think he should be in a predominant spot? No. I think he should be in that sort of like very similar to how R-Truth has been over the past few years, especially. Like, that sort of spot makes sense to me. Maybe a title match here and there, maybe a little run as a tag team with somebody. But no, I don't need. Like, I'm not screaming out for Joe Hendry to become the next IC or US champion. Like, I will not be in favor of that. I do not believe in that. I wish if you kept saying his name, he'd disappear. But that's just me. But yeah, like I said, sometimes I give him too much hate. Like you said, he's worked very hard to get to the spot where he is. So yeah, I'm happy for him, but I'm not happy for me. As selfish as that way sounds.
Yeah, I'm like I said, if they use him sparingly, if it's just like a bit of a, oh, we just signed somebody. I want my own match. I want my own position. Who did we sign? Oh, some guy called Joe Hendry. Clap, clap. Joe Hendry appears. Next week, he has a match with said mid card wrestler. And it's just like that every here and there sporadically. I think that's inoffensive. I wouldn't mind that sort of thing. But I can't. I don't want to see him like taking up like younger talents place, more kind of promising talents places, unless you know he's going to lose to them eventually, or help get them over, sort of thing. Um, yeah, it's I don't know. I really feel like ultimately this is a strong payday and it's working on TV and all of that. It's working for the biggest company in the world. But he went into the Royal Rumble as TNA World Champion. I think that is massive. He had a WrestleMania match with Randy Orton as TNA World Champion. I think that's even bigger. So it's like nothing. I don't think nothing, and I could be wrong, but I don't think anything he's now going to do with WWE is going to surpass these two moments. I think he has reached the top of the hill with what he can do in the WWE as well as his gimmick. Like, he'll be in this year's Royal Rumble or 2026 Royal Rumble. Cool. Will he get a WrestleMania match? Who knows? Maybe a multi-man thing somewhere, which probably meaningless. But yeah, it's. I want to know what they see in him, and maybe it is the virality. Maybe he is just going to be someone that's going to be more on the adverts and brand ambassador and things of that nature, going to help them recruit talent for the nil program or whatever the case is. Does he go straight to main roster? Does he stick around in NXT for a bit? I just don't know how to see him. One thing I did hear about this, right? Shawn Michaels, what's the word? He was pleading to the board or whomsoever, Triple H or whatever, that they need to buy him out of his contract to sign for the WWE. So he signed, but I don't know if he signed. I don't know if it's out there if he signed because his contract in TNA was up and now he signed, or they actually just got bored of waiting and just bought him out of his contract. Because
I think that's a smart move.
To buy him out of his contract.
Yeah, just because of, like, if you're working with someone on a viral basis, it makes more sense to we said strike the iron while it's hot. And I think the iron would have started cooling down. So I think it makes more sense to buy him out and to sort of capitalize on it whilst they can.
I mean, his contract was up fairly soon anyway. I think they just got bored of waiting. So they just, decided to strike now. But then wouldn't you, in what you're saying, I think it's correct, but wouldn't they have then just done that earlier this year? Like, what have they been waiting for?
Yeah, I think if I was them, I would have signed him a year ago.
Yeah.
I probably would have signed him a year ago. Because I think then a lot of the moments a lot of these moments in which you said that he's had, he wouldn't have had. So it's just like, it's catch-22. It's, would you have rather have signed with WWE earlier and had different moments than you've had already? But like you said, he's had his Royal Rumble moment. He faced Randy Orton, who in a lot of people's eyes is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. So at WrestleMania in Vegas, like, it's a huge moment. Yeah. So it's just like, I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer with this one. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer, but only time will tell, Mekz, because I see this whole period just cooling off very, very soon after he debuts on the main roster.
Yeah. Post Rumble, like he's not going to be in the Elimination Chamber, surely. Like, so post Rumble, between Rumble and Mania. Right, what he's gonna do. I've just heard that they're putting SmackDown back to 3 hours in the new year. So if he lands on SmackDown, that may afford him some TV time. But like I said, I'm sure there's still better people that we're more invested in that would rather see get that TV time than Joe Hendry, even if the show was 3 hours. So, yeah, I just want to know what 2026 looks like for this guy that's been doing this gimmick for 2 years already. So we'll see. But well done to him.
Yeah, man. And you know what? Staying on the subject of TNA, a certain Mr. Do I say Matt Cardona? Do I say Zack Ryder? WWE don't seem to know what they want to call him. Michael Conway with the reference on commentary, but he came out as a surprise entrant into this last time is now tournament this week. You called it, mate. Well done. Yeah, you called it. And I think the more in which after we spoke, the more which I thought about it, it made sense. So I was more happy to see it as Zack Ryder than Joe Hendry. But yeah, I was super stoked for Zack Ryder. He's worked tirelessly after leaving WWE. Rumors circulating whether he's signed, whether he hasn't. There seems to be his merchandise available back on the store with WWE. So you never know. It looks like he predominantly will end up signing back properly with WWE. Yeah, I thought it was a great moment. But yeah, LNI got the W, and then they moved forward after that.
Yeah, good. We'll talk about LA Knight and being a bit worried for him, thinking he got punished, but maybe not. But yeah, it was a weird one because Matt Cardona was literally on NXT TV maybe like 2 weeks ago answering Matt Cardona. And it's almost like, well, he said in the past, if he comes back to WWE, he doesn't want to be Zack Ryder. He said in 2022, Zack Ryder is dead, and that I'm Matt Cardona. But obviously when the check comes and the place that you've been lobbying to get back into for the past 5 years since you left, they've told you, no, we're going to stick to Zack Ryder. And you've said, yeah, that's fine. That's cool. And I mean, I've seen a lot of people talking about it online. Is it a bit of a like he didn't stand his ground? Like it's a bit of a shame. Like it's like you done what the man told you to do, sort of thing, and you didn't, stand your ground, sort of thing, And ultimately, I don't think it really mattered because when he made his entrance, there wasn't like a wild pop or anything like that, which surprised me because I thought, well, if they're definitely going to go to Zack Ryder gimmick, it's for that reason. It's because that's the name that they believe people will react to. And they didn't really react either. So it's just like, okay. I think he had a decent match with LA Knight. I think the match was all right. As of currently, I think the reports are saying that he hasn't signed. They made the merch and stuff, and I hope he makes a bit of money off the back of that. But like, yeah, one and done. It looks like right now. I think clearly, if they bring him back in as Zack Ryder, he'll jump at it with two hands. I don't believe he signed to anybody. He does like little appearances for GCW and TNA and stuff like that, but I don't believe he signed to any company. So it could happen fairly soon, just as of now or as of when they brought him back this weekend. He's not a signed WWE talent. He's still just Matt Cardona dressed as Zack Ryder in the WWE.
Woo-wooing his way down the ramp. I think, do you know what this for me cemented? I think we're at a time where certain characters and certain wrestlers there's a breakdown in communication for especially for the younger fans. Mm-hmm. Because I think if you are someone who's our age, you understand that Zack Ryder, you remember his entire run. You remember him winning the IC title at WrestleMania, only to lose it the next night to The Miz. Yeah. I don't think a large proportion of fans will remember that stuff anymore, or it won't necessarily be seen as important to them. So I think they might have just waited a little bit too long to have him return to the company. And I think that ship might have sailed. But it was, like I said, it was great to see him get his spot and his moment back in the WWE in the last time is now tournament after him and John Cena have such a storied history, whether it was cheating allegations and whatever else in their storylines, Matt Cardona getting pushed off of the ramp by Kane and so many other different things. I think, Zack Ryder being pushed off a ramp. It was not Matt Cardona. So yeah, I think as fun as it was, I think it is a one and done. And like you said, I hope he makes some money off merchandise, but I don't think this is going to be a long-term partnership coming to fruition. His wife, on the other hand, seems to be one of the most over people in WWE and continuing to grow her sort of stock. So yeah, I'm more excited. Do you know what? I'd be excited for how they could include him into a Chelsea Green storyline, rather than him in the Last Time Is Now tournament. That would excite me more.
Like, okay, I'm thinking of it as Chelsea Green in her current iteration, doing this whole president thing, mixed tag team champion, and United States champion. In this current iteration, I don't want him anywhere near Chelsea Green. Nowhere near. Stay away. That I can't lie. It's the husband, but that's a stench near Chelsea Green. Like if he comes near her, Ethan Page, Alba Fire, and hopefully when Piper Niven is well, that's a foursome that's set to go. Like I think they're brilliant together. And maybe you get Ethan Page to have a little kind of running boy under him, like whoever that may be, someone from NXT or someone maybe. That's it. Like if she drops all the titles, Chelsea, drops the gimmick of the president stuff, and then her and Zack Ryder come in as like some crazy power couple stuff, some of the stuff they've done on the indies before, then I'd look forward to that. But don't add him to the current gimmick because there's no place for him. I'm sorry.
No, Ethan Page has been doing great stuff alongside Chelsea Green as well. And I'd say I'd probably go as far to say it's one of the things I'm most excited to see on a week-to-week basis on WWE programming at the moment. Mm-hmm. Just because Chelsea Green, like, you give her crumbs and that woman makes a pie. Like, honestly, you give her 10 seconds, 15 seconds of TV. Like, even this week, like, she's got the eye patches on. She had her, like, the communication between her and Nick Aldis, I think, needs to be studied because they don't have to say a lot of words, but they tell a whole story every time they have these interactions backstage. Mm. It's just like hold these balls, and you know what I'm saying? Like if I'm in that creative room and I'm in that writing room and I'm writing this stuff, how do they know? Like, do you think they know how much they've struck the jackpot with it, or do you think it's because of how well they both portray their character that she's able to sort of take that small segment of TV time and run with it every time she gets it?
Yeah, I just think she knows her character extremely well. She's ready to do the extras, and when I say that, that's social media. Like social media is such a strong part, like, and everyone has it. So I don't understand why every wrestler doesn't use it to get themselves over. Because we all have access to it, sort of thing, whether that's fans or them as wrestlers. Like I saw a skit that she done at a pro wrestling like Hall of Fame place on Instagram over this past weekend that she visited, and she walks into this building and she's like asking the tour guide, "Oh, where's my face here on the Hall of Fame thing?" And obviously it's Chelsea Green. Her face ain't gonna be there, and she starts like poking the guy, and the guy gets security to take her out, security carry her out the building. This is something anyone can do. But she just knows her character so well, and just nails it every single time. She's getting in bloody civilians in on the act, you know, like it's so good. So I just feel like she just knows herself so well, so much so that they decided to put the US title back on her, for, you know, to help the gimmick. So like she should be someone that they are earmarking for a super entertaining women's title run. Like, it's not going to be the kind of women's title run that, like, say, a Jade is on now, line them up and will beat down every single person. It's going to be the kind of chicken shit heel, you know, I have to defend this belt by any means necessary, Alba Fire, jumping in, piping in, roll-ups, cheating, all of this kind of stuff. Like, and then in doing that, she can build a massive baby face in someone else that eventually topples her, you know. But, she will never be seen as like the dastardly heel because she's just too entertaining. Like, even in her badness, like, people love her. She's just a great actor, and like I said, I think her and Zack Ryder can do great stuff together, but in a different timeline, just not within this gimmick.
Yeah, no, man. I think that's a great point, Mekz, and I think there's, as much as things have been great in WWE at the moment, we've got to speak about AEW Blood and Guts, because here's the thing for me. Did I go into Blood and Guts thinking that the women were going to do what they were going to do? I thought like they were going to put on an entertaining match, but the level of production that went into it was great, but also the level of wrestling in that ring it surprised me to a whole nother level. One thing I have to start by saying is I don't know how they managed to make Marina Shafir look as any scarier than she has as part of the Death Riders.
Yeah.
But that entrance, I was just like, she was walking, I was like, yeah, she'd probably mess me up, man. She would absolutely fuck me up. that's the entrance we had. But yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts on first of all, the women's blood and guts match, Mekz, because I know this is something you've been excited to talk about.
Yeah, I think whenever WWE, AEW, whenever they give the women a first or give them these matches that the men have had for years, it's like the women are determined to knock it out of the park. They're determined to prove we can hang and you're going to give us this match again. And I think it's more because women, I think they are like, they the way they take on instruction, especially when they don't want to get it wrong, is better. Whereas men, there's obviously a bit of ego. Someone can tell you to do A, B, C. It's just like, I'll do A and C. B's fine. I'll leave that out, sort of thing. And men, they can get away with it, sort of thing. Like you've seen Triple H on what was that, WWE Untold, or what was it called? Unreal.
Yeah.
When he said like these women get it so much more than the men. He said there's 5 great women in NXT for every one good guy in NXT. But it's because the women listen. It's because they take it on, and it's the ego. I don't think is there in it. I'm not in the locker rooms. I don't know, but I think they see it as, right, the women have a chance, so we're all gonna do this together as women. Yay, go women! Like, I think that's the mentality sort of thing when you get this opportunity. So it's almost like they made a pact. We're all gonna go out there. We're gonna all kill ourselves. We're all gonna bleed. We're all gonna cut each other's heads open and all of this kind of stuff, and we're gonna have a fantastic match. And they did that. They did exactly that. I don't know if the women can have a better War Games match than this one in years to come, because it was brutal and they had storytelling elements in there as well. The finish I thought was brilliant, with Mina getting just absolutely destroyed. Her head was busted open, and obviously Tony had to surrender on her behalf, sort of thing. They weaved in the fact that obviously there's a tag team tournament going on with some of these women as well, and they're competitors with each other. I just think this was very well done, like very well done for a first outing for a War Games match for the women. They smashed it, completely smashed it. Marina Shafir, like you said, my personal MVP. She's been needing something like this. Obviously, she came from the cage, so she's got her credentials about her there. But I think seemingly she has struggled a bit to adapt to pro wrestling, which is crazy because her husband in Roderick Strong is a fantastic pro wrestler. But yeah, it hasn't really come to her as naturally. But she's beginning to get it, and she's beginning to. I've seen a couple of her matches Ring of Honor. I've seen a couple of her matches on Collision. She's beginning to get it, and it's all clicking. And some of the spots that she had, the mirror one, then she put her foot in the glass to kick Tony. I think the mother's milk submission, I just think is brilliant anyway. I just think it's all coming together for her, and it makes me more annoyed because I think else a couple months ago I was lobbying for Shayna Baszler to join AEW and to be her tag team partner when they said they were going to do this tag team tournament sort of thing. And I think it would have been great. Now that she's coming into her own, I think those two together as friends, as you know, 2 of the 4 horsewomen of MMA, would have been brilliant. But Shayna Baszler looks like she's happy training in the PC and stuff like that, which is fine. So she's tagged up with Megan Bayne. Surely they got to win that, tag.
Megan Bayne looks strong in that match as well,
Megan
man. I
Bayne
just wanted
to like, she looks brilliant. She literally looks like a fighting goddess, like like from Greek mythology or something. She looks crazy every single time. But yeah, I think the women absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Do you know one thing I want to say is, you were saying about how they can take instruction on, and you know what was really fun to see? How creative they were able to be with the match. Yeah. Like, even to the point of sneaking out of the cage to get more weapons and
fitting through the and that is something a man just can't do, because men are generally bigger than women. So exactly like you're saying, so creative, like it's brilliant.
Tony Storm, I think, is just, if you would like, she's someone that we both said was toying with the idea of retiring from wrestling not too long ago, and that's scary to see because she both that. The thing about the blood and guts matches and the war games matches and whatever side you may be on is we're in a time where women are really stamping their authority in the industry. They really are, and I think this blood and guts match was probably the biggest sort of stamp in a long time from them. And I think we're now at a time where I'm looking at, comparing it to the men's match. I think the men's match was great, but do I think it has had the same effect? I had that added as much emotion and everything else to the match. No, I think the women absolutely stole the show, and I think it's like you said, there were so many intertwining stories going on within the blood and guts match. So it's setting up the matches for the tag team tournament. It's setting up future world title matches. And I think that was the most entertaining part because you've got so many people in ring and to still manage to tell so many different stories within them all in the ring. It's like you said, these women are able to take on what they need to do and they are able to knock it out of the park at such a high level. So yeah, man, I take my hat off to them. I think this is not going to be the last blood and guts match we've seen from women in AEW because they really have now essentially said to Mr. TK, listen, the men might be able to do it, but listen, we can do it in our own way and we can make it magical when we do it.
They've taken too long to get to this point, to be completely honest, because the women in AEW, whenever they're given like what do you call it, like a no DQ match or a Texas death match or something like that, they knock it out of the park every single time. So to get to this, which is a natural progression, a War Games match, maybe they just lacked the numbers to do 10 on 10 or whatever it was, because they should have been here a long time ago because they've proven they can do this kind of match. You know, the only difference is the cage and I guess how long the match has to go on for. Yeah, I thought they were absolutely brilliant. And then obviously the challenge is left with the men to have a brilliant match in the main event, but do something different. And again, that one was riddled in story. I mean, obviously the big spot for that one, which you're going to see forever and ever now, is Pac throwing Darby off the top of the like Titron through 2 flaming tables by Gabriel Kidd. Like, Darby Allin, when will it be enough? When will it be enough? Like, I can't imagine. Like, there is no way on this earth that Darby Allin has life insurance. Like, no one is going to insure that guy because he's actively trying to kill himself every week. Like,
that is crazy. There's no way he's got life insurance.
No way. No way. He can never get life insurance. Not a chance. But I think obviously the men's story has super intrigued me because obviously, to just jump to the finish, Moxley gives up. Moxley taps out. And we're in a place now where Moxley has went from this hard nut that never taps out, never gives up, where he's given up on maybe 2 to 3 occasions this year now. And I guess from a story point perspective now, why are the Death Riders following this guy? Why do they believe he's still the leader? Like
I think he's getting kicked out soon.
I think he has to get kicked out soon. And I think that's where it's going to be interesting, especially from the likes of Daniel Garcia that joined recently, because, you know, if you can't beat him, join them sort of thing. Wheeler Yuta, who's the whipping boy, but, you know, ultimately Wheeler Yuta's hard as nails because he goes through the most in that group and he still sticks around. Cesaro, who is, you know, Moxley's right-hand man, if you like. Pac, who's came back looking like a monster and looks like he wants to be around a bit more now. Like, all of a sudden, the guy that is their fearless leader, you know, he's now losing, he's now quitting, he's given up. And ultimately, they got rid of Bryan Danielson from the group for being maybe a bit soft at times. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a really cool story that has to play out. Like, I thought it would have started playing out already when what did he do? He tapped out against Hangman. And then I think he tapped out against Darby as well. So, yeah, earlier this year.
So that's 3 times within 9 months?
Less than.
Not even 6 months, really.
Yeah, maybe about 6 months. Because I think it was all out. He lost to Hangman. So yeah, All Out was what, summer or so, June or so.
So not even 6 months.
Yeah, less than literally less than that. Like it's probably like 5 months. He's tapped out 3 times, and it's just absolutely unheard of. So at this point, if they haven't done it already, at this point, there needs to at least be like whispers and dissension, like Wheeler talking to Daniel Garcia. Is this guy still fit to lead us? Or, Cesaro kind of coming over and still kind of being Moxley's soldier, being like, of course he is, stop talking crap, blah, blah, blah. But the whispers are beginning to happen in the Death Riders. Or maybe even the face roster, the conglomeration guys are telling the others, like telling everyone, like, you guys are quitters, look at your leader, he's a quitter. And then it starts filtering through to them mentally. I don't know how they're going to do it, but yeah, I think that's a really good story there that they can lean on.
Joe, I want to speak about Daniel Garcia quickly because I think we both said it quite early on when we started this podcast about this might be the last chance saloon for him going into the Death Riders, and what he could really make come of that. I think Dell said it on Wrestling's as well, and I think him and Wheeler Yuta are so good, man. I think if we're talking about two people that have really got a future in this industry now, I never doubted what Daniel Garcia could do. I more doubted what he was able to, like how many more chances could he have of making it big in AEW. But boy, he's really grabbed this chance with both hands, and I think I'm now looking at the Death Riders, and I think I'm looking at Gabe Kidd, yeah, and then 6 months ago this wouldn't have made sense. But I feel like Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta are going to come out of this as the predominant two people. I think that's the direction where we're going. I think it ends up being a trio of Pac with the other two along his side. I think they end up kicking Moxley out, and I think down the line they end up kicking Cesaro out as well. And I think that's the direction that would make the most sense to me. But yeah, they've been so blessed with this Death Rider stuff because every time it seems like as a faction, as a story, it's over, they seem to find a way of revitalizing it and bringing it back. But yeah, I think Moxie's got to be done from the group very soon because you can't be this sort of crazy leader and be tapping out 3 times in, like I said, less than 6 months. Even for me, I'm not even buying it, and I'm not even. I wouldn't be getting in the blood and guts. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, it's the authenticity of the gimmick he's trying to sell has really started to lose its value now.
It feels like something's happening with Pac, like you said. Something definitely feels. I know they've kind of changed him aesthetically, what he looks like in his presentation, but it feels like this is different this time, and something's happening. So your direction, how you think it could end up, is not a bad one at all. I think you could even look at Gabe Kidd. If Gabe Kidd comes in and like maybe all of these guys are still thinking, oh, Moxley's turning a bit soft, Gabe Kidd might be the one to pull the trigger. He might be the one to cut his neck. The guy's crazy. Like, and he kind of overthrows Moxley and becomes the new leader of the group, however they want to do it. Like, but ultimately, in what you're saying is correct, because I'm sure the point of the group is to get Wheeler over, is to get Daniel Garcia over. These are the young talents, that you want to get to the next step. So if we can do it through these guys kind of making their own little subdivision from Death Riders and throwing out all of these Moxleys, Claudio and Marina Shafir, then it makes sense. Let's do it.
Yeah, man, I think it's an exciting time coming up for the Death Riders because, like I said, it always seems to be like it's done, and then they seem to bring something new to light with it. But now you've said it, I'd love to see Gabe Kidd as the leader of the Death Riders, and I think he'd make some absolute magic happen there, man. He just that cynical side of him would just really start to come out. So, yeah, man, exciting few months ahead, Mekz. But yeah, bro. I do not. I'm not buying into Moxley's stock anymore as the leader. I think that's what the last few months have done. Is you can't tell me you're this vindictive guy and be tapping out to Darby Allin, who, like you said, has been thrown through 2 flaming tables, tapping out to Hangman and being essentially the reason that your team got the loss.
Yeah, I mean, after his losses against Darby and Hangman by tapping out, he's come out and he's cut promos and he's kind of justified why he tapped out and all of this kind of stuff. And yeah, on the day you got the best of me or whatever the case is, and this, that, and the other. I didn't want to die in this battle. Well, I'll catch you next time. Like, which is what anyone would do, right? You would come out and make excuses. But now I don't even think the ball isn't with Moxley anymore. It's now with the rest of the Death Riders to be like, you're a quitter. You give up too
Yeah,
much. What's going on?
you're pagan.
Yeah. This next week, I'm expecting over Collision or Dynamite or whatever. I'm expecting Moxley to come out and make another excuse. I'm expecting him to come out and be like, shit happens, you know. But it's down to the rest of the group now to pull him up on his BS. And if they're not spotting it, it's down for the baby faces, whomsoever, Darby Allin, Mark Briscoe, whomsoever, Kyle O'Reilly. It's down to them to call out Death Riders and to call out Moxley at this point for the world to hear it, that this guy has quit 3 times in 6 months. And then it has to sink in. But Moxley, I'm expecting him to just, play off like nothing, to be completely honest. We'll see.
It's worlds apart from, like we said, on how highly we've spoken about Marina Shafir in the women's side of Blood and Guts, to go and speak so negatively about John Moxley, who I'm someone who over the years has stuck by him, despite him, like a lot of fans not really being invested in his stock anymore. Yeah, man, I think he's someone who will bounce back from this, but maybe he just needs a bit of time off and to come back as a face, because I think one day he'll end up coming back as a face just because of how much work he's done. But yeah, I think this hill run will start to see on the final lap now, and it won't be too long before he's kicked out of the Death Riders, bro.
Yeah, I think this is tremendous work by Moxley. I think this is tremendous storytelling, honestly. I think they've done so well with this. I think he's had a terrific year. Like, top of the year, he was champion. And he only had he had programs that people didn't like. But I've liked the Death Riders throughout. I didn't like him in Edge because I think that's more of an Edge thing. I'm not really a fan of Edge. But, like, everything else this guy's done, he's turned to gold. Like, I said this at the time, putting the AEW World title in a briefcase and fans not seeing it for 10 months only raised the stock of the belt when Hangman took it out of that briefcase and held it above his head. Everything Moxley has done has turned to gold. Honestly, people are indifferent about Moxley sometimes. I genuinely think that guy's brilliant, and he's had a great year. Even in all of these losses he's taken now and putting people over, he's having a great year. Like we said, the storytelling now needs to catch up and put him under pressure for all these losses. But he's been brilliant.
No, man, I think that's a great place to end it. But I just want to say, yeah, the one question to ask you next before we finish up, bro. Do you think he gets a Hall of Fame in WWE and AEW once he retires?
The question is, will he go back to WWE? That's the only way he kind of gets in some capacity WWE Hall of Fame. AEW for sure. That guy has, Jericho, as we talked about at the top of the show, was the name they brought in to kind of, give all the TV appeal. But the guy that's been there, been around, is Moxley. He's been the real ace of the company. The only time he wasn't there was when he was obviously rehabbing from battling addiction, and then he came back fresher than ever, and look what he's doing now. The guy is AEW at this point. He's been in AEW now longer than he's been on main roster in WWE.
It's nuts when you think about it, right?
It's nuts. Crazy. But yeah, he's the man over there. 100% they're gonna honor him. And I think he even goes into maybe training and setting up a training school or something like that with AEW. I think for sure he's there for life. But WWE, I don't know if he'll ever get into Hall of Fame, because I just don't know whether he will go back. They'll invite him back for sure, but I don't know whether he'll go back. But maybe this is a conversation for another day. I think it just makes you realize as a faction how brilliant the Shield was. Like, the Shield is practically the industry right now. Like, no matter what channel you're watching, So yeah, I think he's brilliant. He'll be honored wherever he goes. Is if he wants to go back to WWE to take the accolade is the question.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I think especially that, like, there was a point where they were all world champions as well, wasn't it?
Mm.
Which is nuts. That these three guys coming out in turtleneck. Was Moxley? I'm trying to remember if Moxley was champion when Reigns had the title, and then Seth had the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, it was Seth's first world championship run with the new big gold belt. So that would have been at some point early last year, maybe, or the year before. And then obviously Roman had the two titles, and Moxley was AEW World Champion.
And this all stemmed from three guys coming out in turtleneck jumpers, by the way.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But they deserve it. They are truly, when you look at what each of them have done, they are truly the top boys of this industry. Whether you want to look at money, drawing, wrestling ability, storytelling, no matter what metric you want to kind of look at it by, you can't not mention those three in the conversation.
No. And I think you know what? Regardless of who your favorite is out of the three as well, I think because there's always some people might prefer Seth's style, some people might prefer the brawler style of Jon Moxley, but some people, might just be that locked in with the big dog Roman Reigns, man. But yeah, if you're talking like there doesn't always need to be four pillars. Sometimes there can be three pillars, and I think the three pillars of the wrestling industry, especially for the past decade, has been the Shield.
Yeah, them boys have done so well. Honestly, they've done so well.
For Mekz, I think that's a great place to end it, bro. I'm not sure if we've got any questions coming through or any comments coming through that you wanted to address before we log off today.
No, I think that's everything, man. Yeah, guys, stay tuned in. We've had a week of, like we're saying, a lot of people looking for new jobs and getting new jobs and stuff like that. It's maybe that time of year, who knows? We've got, I guess next week will be Full Gear we'll be talking about, I think. And then the following week, Survivor Series, or maybe I got that the wrong way around. But yeah, pay-per-views to discuss and, break down as we're kind of getting ready for them. And then we're into December, where we'll kind of be rounding up everything that's happened this year, good and bad, and then Rumble. So yeah, a lot more to come, guys. Del, you want to let them know where they can find you?
Yep, Del Tepic on all my socials. Been enjoying doing these, and there's going to be a lot more to talk about as the Last Time Is Now tournament continues on. So excited to discuss who this next surprise entrant into the tournament is going to be. Yeah,
they are trying to, seemingly, Adam Pearce has put out something recently. It seems like they're trying to push us away from the obvious, which may be Joe Hendry, and maybe because Joe Hendry is part of the company now, he's not a surprise. I think if it's not Joe Hendry, Jeff Hardy, definitely someone that I think it could be, but we only got one more sleep and then we can find out tomorrow who it's going to be. So yeah, we'll find out. You can find me WrestleManiac UK on all your social media platforms as well. Like I say, like, comment, subscribe on the video. If you're listening online, leave us a review as well on your Apple, your Google, your Spotify, or all of them places. And we'll be back next week. See you guys later.